In this video, we are going to try to talk about polymorphism. Polymorphism in Greek means many forms, and in C#, what polymorphism means is that an object can use different implementations of a method based on context. And this is kind of a hard concept to grasp, so I think the best way to kind of show it is through an example. So let's walk through this example I'm going to try to set up here. The goal is I would like to create a shopping application that allows the user to purchase lots of different types of items. And so what I've done is I've created some starter classes. I have a smartphone class that has a model property. I have a candy bar class here that has a brand property, and a ball class that has a color property. These are just some simple classes. And then I provided a constructor for each of them. And let's walk through kind of a shell of a program that I would like to try to make. So here's a shopping app where I want the user to be able to enter in an item, and I have a little method here that displays the items we are selling. We have a smartphone, a candy bar, a ball. And I want the user to say, okay, what do you want to purchase? And they'll select the items they want to purchase. And when they are done purchasing all the items they want, I want to loop through, calculate the price of all of these items, and display a receipt. Well, because all of these objects are unrelated to each other, I can't create, I have no way to create a common collection of these different items. So for example, if I wanted to make a shopping cart, maybe I could make a list of balls, and I could say, okay, I can make a shopping cart. I'll call this cart. But I can't store candy bars in there or smartphones. So I would like to see if there was a way for me to make a list of maybe sellable items, and a ball could be a sellable item and a candy bar could be a sellable item. That would make my life easier. So let's see if we can kind of make that happen. So I have my three classes. I'm going to add a new class to my project here, and I'm going to make a sellable item class. And I'm going to make this class abstract. Okay, this isn't we aren't implementing this sellable item. It is just I want to be able to derive other classes from this sellable item, use inheritance to kind of pass on some common attributes and behaviors. So for this sellable item, I'm going to make a public abstract property called price. And I'm going to define, what have I done here? Oh, I got to give it a value. I'll call it a decimal price. And this price attribute, I'm going to say it has a get block. So an abstract property is the shell of a property that will need to be implemented by anyone who inherits from my sellable item. And then I'm going to go ahead and create an abstract method. We'll say public abstract, and let's make this return a string. And I'm going to call this description. This method, since it's abstract, it does not have an implementation. So to put some notes here, I'm creating a price property to return the price, and I'm going to create a description method that describes the item. Okay, so here's an abstract class. I can't implement objects, I can't create sellable items, but I can use this class to help build other items. So let's go to the smartphone class, and I'm going to make the smartphone class inherit from the sellable item class. And because I'm inheriting from an abstract class that has abstract components, my smartphone class now has to implement those pieces. So I have to say public override on the price. Sorry, it's a double price property. And I'm in my get block, I'm going to say returns. Let's create a price for our smartphone. How about $199.99? And then we need to implement the description. So we're going to create a description here. I'm going to say public override string description, and we'll return a string that says smartphone. Okay. So my smartphone is inheriting from the sellable item. My relationship is my smartphone is a sellable item. And we're going to go through and do this exercise on our other two classes. The candy bar will be a sellable item. We'll say public override double price. Whoops. Visual Studio is helping me out here. Have a get block that returns the price of a candy bar. Let's make that 50 cents. And we'll make it our description method say maybe it will return candy bar. So we've implemented the sellable item inheritance in the candy bar. The candy bar is a sellable item as well. And our ball, we will make a sellable item to wrap things up. So we'll say public override double price. No thank you. We will return, how about $1.25? And finally, public override string description, and we will return that we are a ball. Okay, so now we have our three classes that were unrelated. They now derive from a common class, a sellable item class. So when we go to our program, I am going to try to create a collection of sellable items. So why don't we use a list and make a list of sellable items, and I'm going to call this my cart, and we'll instantiate and create this list. Here we go. All right, so now I have a list of sellable items. Because a candy bar is a sellable item and a smartphone is a sellable item, I can stick these derived classes into my sellable items cart. So here's our menu. We're going to ask the user what they want. If they choose S, what am I going to do? I'm going to say into my cart, I want to add a new, and let's make a new, S is for smartphone. We're going to make a new smartphone object, and we'll call this the model 123. And there we go. We'll put a smartphone into our cart class. Now let me do one quick little thing here. Inside each of our descriptions, I want to add the attribute with the description so that we can kind of see. Here, we'll say we'll add the model number plus that is this model smartphone. And for our candy bar, we will put the brand in front of the candy bar. And in front of our ball, I will put the color value in front of the ball. So we can see a little more description of our objects here. So what I could do here is I could add the ability to choose many models of smartphones, for example. And the smartphone class will handle the different models of smartphone, and the sellable items list will be able to handle any new type of phone that comes in. Okay, and we could create constructors to allow us to pass in different prices and customize the individual classes or objects even more. All right, so here's our cart. If the user chooses a candy bar, I'll say cart.add a new candy bar. I'll just call this Mars bar. And then finally, if they want to add a ball, we'll say cart.add a new ball, and we'll make it yellow. So I'm adding all of these kind of different types of objects, but since they all derive from a common object, I can store these derived objects into a container of the base class. Okay, so if they choose an invalid option, we'll say console.writeLine, not a valid option. Now let's see if we can go loop through and get the price and a receipt for all of our shopping cart when we're done. So I'm going to say for each sellable item, I'll call that item in my cart list, I want to calculate the price. So a sum of prices, I need an accumulator variable. So I'm going to create a double total, set it equal to 0. And to calculate the total of all items in my cart, I could say total plus equals my item's price value. And it doesn't matter if the item is a ball or a smartphone or a sellable or a candy bar. Through polymorphism, I am going to know that which price property to call kind of behind the scenes. Even though I'm looping over sellable items and I'm calling the price property from a sellable item object, I can infer through context whether to use the smartphone's implementation or the brand's or the candy bar's implementation or the ball's implementation. And then if we want to print the receipt, maybe we could say something like console.writeLine. We'll print I'll insert a description of the item and do ... and then we'll insert maybe the price of the item. And I'm going to insert item item description and item price. Again, when I call the description from the sellable item object through polymorphism and context, the sellable item will be able to determine whether to use the description implementation from the smartphone class or the candy bar class or the ball class. Okay, and then finally we will print the final total. Console.writeLine. Final total is, and insert the value. Let's see if this works. So we're running our little application here. We're going to go ahead, let's order a candy bar, and then we'll order a ball, and then a smartphone, and then another ball, and then we will exit. And so here we see we ordered a candy bar for 50 cents, a ball for $1.25, a smartphone for $199, another ball for $1.25, and our total comes out to be $202.99. Okay, so we were able to have a collection of unrelated classes, but they were commonly derived. So we could have a single container that contained all of the derived objects, and through polymorphism, looping through that container of sellable items, we were able to pull off unique descriptions and prices based on context. Maybe that clears up polymorphism a little bit. I hope so.